We're going to get straight to it. Kendrick and Drake dropped multiple discs today. At least Kendrick did. And I mean, even then, you could kind of say Drake did because he had multiple beats in one track. So, with that being said, I am going to give you my thoughts on both. I'm going to go over Drake's track first because it dropped. And then I'm going to go over Kendrick's track because it dropped 45 minutes after Drake's track. We will go over that in detail. But let's get started. So we heard the first diss, a little piece of it, in the first beat at the end of Drake's first diss, dropping Give Me 50. So people kind of anticipated that, and people thought they were like some fucking wizards for predicting that that was going to be on the next diss. It's like, okay, kids. But the beat is dope, and basically this first part is the jiggy shit. He's trying to get one in the club. I could tell by the beat. I could tell by the flow. It's the back-to-back formula. He's trying to get one off in the club. Now, he said some stuff like, you trying to free the slaves. I thought that was funny and all that stuff. Like, we gonna skip all the cool bars. We're gonna get to the beef and potatoes. Once that nigga gets to the Whitney Bobby shit, that really don't move me, but this is where it begins. He says a bar, why you don't ever hold your son and say cheese. This is where he begins to put it out that allegedly, he's saying it as if it's a fact, but I'm going to say allegedly because nothing has been proven yet. And I'm going to address all of that as far as the proof at the end and things of that nature. But he alleges that Dave Free, which is one of the people as far as the executives at TDE, is the father of Kendrick's son. So what we've gotten into is very nasty territory. He says that Kendrick pretty much took it there when he mentioned his family and stuff like that, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what this is. And we knew that's what it was going to be because he alluded to it. Drake alluded to it to some degree, I'm sure. But we didn't know exactly what it was going to be. We just knew it was going to be a mudslinging contest. So as far as that first part, it is pretty dope. It is pretty potent. He's got some bars in there as far as punchlines and things of that nature. But as far as the dirt, that's the dirt and stuff like that. And that's what this battle has become. It was bars and personals a little bit, but now it's like it's extremely personal when we get here. The other thing that I left out is that he was crushing a Good Kid, Mad City van at the top of the video. That's brilliant. The whole video is personal, so it's like really brilliant. But let's continue. So the second verse is really not about Kendrick, so I'm not gonna go in depth. He may have a bar or two in there about Kendrick, but as far as most of the second part, he is getting at the 20v1 that's coming at him, which is Ross, ASAP Rocky, Future, and he doubles back to Ross around the end, but he also gets at Metro Boomin, The Weeknd, and I'm pretty sure that's it. And he gives them bars. It's very potent. The flow is good. This is when he really starts rapping. The first part, again, it was some jiggy. Let me just put some lyrics in here, get a good beat, catch some shit for the club, hit this cat with a bombshell, and have people in the club saying shake that ass for free. This part was, okay, let me start really rapping for real. And he even says something like that at the top of this part. So this is a very good part, but what we are here for is the Kendrick stuff. That's what we're here for, so I'm not really going to go in too deep. Ross is definitely going to respond, who knows when. And I'm not about to sit here and lie. Like, I don't care that much. I definitely will report on it and listen to it, but if you look at all the disses dropped, his diss doesn't live up to any of the disses dropped. This literally, I don't even want to say like the worst, but it's the least out of all of them, however you want to put that. If every one of them is good, that's the least good. Now, the last part of the video is very significant because this is when he begins to actually rap towards Kendrick, and this is where we see the full angle flesh out and things like that. He is going to the new Ho King, which is a, restaurant Kendrick mentioned in his first actual diss. And the business at that spot began to boom as well. So the fact that Drake went and ate there, that's just ironic. And also around the end of the video, he's like at the graveyard plotting out. He has, some King of Pop stuff in the video, as far as, Michael Jackson as well in the studio and stuff like that. Kendrick said he wanted to inherit the beef for Pharrell and stuff like that. Drake had a line about that, like come and get his shit back or whatever. And he had all the chains on somebody else and stuff like that. So it's like he was getting real clever with the video. Now, as far as the beat, this might ruin it for you as far as what I'm about to say, but I was trying to figure out what it reminded me of as far as the melody. Thong song. Thong song. It's very thong songish, but it's dope and the vibe fits. Now, with this, I just want to say he doesn't waste one fucking bar on this last part. Every single thing that he says is purposeful and it hits in this last verse. That's it. He is fuck the jiggy shit and fuck everybody else. Now it's time to focus on you, Kendrick. That's what time it is. So even with the first bar, Kendrick just opened his mouth. Somebody go get him a Grammy right now. He's basically implying that they just be giving this cat Grammys just for anything, just because he do anything, because he's one of the most Grammy winning rappers. And just to put it into perspective, Kendrick has 16, Drake has 5. And if I'm going to be honest with you, that Macklemore snub when Good Kid Mad City dropped, and Macklemore apologizing and stuff like that, and Kendrick not being a bad sport about it, I think that plays a lot into why, politically, why he has so many. And that might be something fucked up to say, but that's what Drake is implying, at least. And I do think that we shit on the Grammys a lot, if we're going to be honest. That's a conversation for another day and how much they get it wrong. But when it comes to Kendrick, they get it right most of the time. They get it right most of the time. Now, he says, because, he let out that second record with Tupac and Snoop on it, the Tupac estate reached out and sent a cease and desist. Drake said a cease and desist is for hoes. You called the Tupac estate and had them send that shit. So he's alleging that as well as a part of the beef. Now, a clever line he had, which if you listen to Damn and Duckworth, you notice, he said that Kendrick's dad got robbed by Top. He says, you Stunner and Wayne like father, like son. That is like, oh my goodness, that's a double entendre at least, if not a triple, but we just gonna say a double. Stunner and Wayne like father, like son. Lil Wayne has an album with Baby called Like Father, Like Son. And as far as like father, like son in Kendrick's case, he's saying that Kendrick is getting robbed by Top. That's what he's saying. It's a dope line. Don't know if it's necessarily true, but we'll get to that again at the end. Now, two bars and this is like where witty shit comes in, because this is not a punchline, but it has so much meaning as far as these two bars. Our kids should play at the park. Two light-skinned kids, that shit would be cute, unless you don't want to be seen with anyone that isn't blacker than you. I mean, when you look at those two bars, and I know nobody's really going to look into it this deep as far as most people, there are undertones to those bars. I don't want to drag it because this is going to be a long video, but for these two bars, I really could. I just want you to know it's deeper, because if you go and look at like Kendrick's first diss, like I feel like he was kind of polite in some areas. And this right here also seems polite. But the thing is, and the difference between when Kendrick says some things like, oh, I like that record, and, oh, don't say certain things about me, and, oh, I won't say things about you, and if you just stick to dancing, you'll be fine. Kendrick was trying to warn him, the friendly fade, all that stuff he said. I mentioned it in my video where it was titled that Kendrick's diss was trash, but I never said in the video that Kendrick's diss was trash, just so you know. But you could go and listen to it. I go into that in detail. But in this, Drake has already said the harsh shit, so he doesn't really mean what he's saying. And it's not like he really is extending an olive branch to Kendrick. So that's the difference as far as those two. It doesn't come off as any type of weakness to me or anything like that versus, my gripes with the Kendrick diss that you can go and watch me talk about. But let's get back to the undertones of this bar or these two bars. We already went over all the, he's trying to criticize Drake. But on top of him trying to criticize Drake for being mixed and stuff like that, he has a mixed girl. And then guess what? As far as their boys are the same product. They are still, mixed with white. At the end of the day, there's some white in both of them, and that's how come they come out light skinned. But on top of that, it's petty because the whole thing is he's trying to say that this is actually Dave Free's sons, not Kendrick's. So it's like that's another, like he's playing off of the son again, not being his. But then on top of that, you have the whole second bar, which is unless you don't want to be seen with someone that isn't blacker than you. And then he goes on a little tirade after that. But you understand Kendrick getting at him and stuff like that. You could really look at it and be like, look, his son isn't blacker than him. And he also mentioned, and you might say this is a reach, but it's the nuance. It's the nuance. He also mentioned that Kendrick doesn't want to hold his son and smile with him. These things, it's just so much nuance to the bar to where it's not a punchline. Neither one of the bars are really a punchline, but it is just clever and witty, and it has a lot of meaning behind it. In the next set of bars, he basically says that Kendrick is beating on his fiance that he has been engaged to since 2015, which is absolutely diabolical, nasty work. Just the engagement by itself, a 9-year engagement, that's very crazy, especially for a rich person. But that's his business. As far as the domestic violence, that is crazy and deplorable. People have posted things that his wife have posted, in relation to this, saying that it's proof, as far as Instagram posts of her domestic violence. I'm just going to tell you it's a big, long paragraph that I didn't bother to read. I'll probably get to that some other day, whatever, but it's not no bruises or no pictures or nothing like that. No damning evidence or anything like that. But that's supposed to be the bombshell. The Michael Jackson bars after that are fucking brilliant. I don't care what anybody says. That shit is fucking crazy. He even put J. Cole as his brother, Jermaine, and Jermaine Jackson wanted him in the shadows. Oh my goodness. That shit was just, man, hey man, he was doing his thing in his fucking third verse. I'm not gonna lie. You could really take away the first two halves and just have this third segment, and it's still insane by itself. If he had to drop this by itself, it would still be fucking insane. But the fact he gave us a 3-piece, it just takes it over the top. I was crazy excited and just, bruh, I was bruh, I definitely was screaming when I got back to my peers and stuff like that on the phone and stuff like that. So this shit was nuts. Let's talk about Kendrick now and get into his diss. Now, the thing about this shit here, dog, I just gotta say, as far as him, he just did something that was just such an amazing tactic. You can't tell me, first off, he didn't have this pre-recorded. You can't tell me he didn't have this pre-recorded. And he was fucking ready, bro. He didn't come empty-handed. He was fucking ready, and he dropped his shit in less than an hour after Drake dropped his shit, so that the conversation around Drake shit couldn't even marinate. Bruh, like, you have to remember this, man. Let me fucking get real deep on you niggas, bruh. Niggas like Ack probably even me to some extent. I don't think I press him for the diss. I think my whole narrative was that as long as it's good when it comes, that's what matters. But people like academics and just all of the Drake stands and the fans, they set deadlines for Kendrick. If you don't got it by this date, man, they was saying, it's done, it's over, just forget about it. Kendrick is count him out and stuff. They was really holding the amount of time it took for him to put out a diss against him. What we come to find out, or if you didn't really understand or realize, Kendrick didn't just do one joint. Kendrick did 3 joints, bruh. And even Daylight said that the first joint that they actually let out was like 20 minutes. And they had to condense it down to whatever they did, 7 minutes, whatever it was. So it's like he did 3 joints. He did 3 joints. And it took him 17 days. So I say all that to say, people who held that time shit against him and said, oh, he's on the clock and all that shit, he said, fuck you niggas, suck my dick. And he dropped in the same hour that Drake dropped. Fucking brilliant. He made it so that the conversation has to be about both disses. It can't just be one. And even I don't think there's going to be any overshadowing or anything like that, because these are 2 big figures and the effort in both of the disses is too much. So let's get into the actual content. But that, as far as that tactic, that is a brilliant tactic. The first thing I want to say is, just as far as the beat, he sticks to one beat. But these last joints truly show the difference between Kendrick and Drake. Specifically, artistically, what did Drake do? Drake dropped something on the first track to where it's like, okay, this is going to be for the club. I'm going to flow. I'm going to hit him with the back-to-back so that this can get played in the clubs, right? The second one was, let me get against all of these other dudes, but I'm going to rap over a drill beat and it's going to be aggressive. This last beat, I'm going to rap, and I'm going to rap in a certain type of way. I'm going to sing the notes and stuff a little bit, but it's still going to come out good. And it's still going to be catchy. People are going to fuck with this. This is going to, everything that I do is going to be vibeable, but it's going to be potent. It's going to be lyrical. That's what Drake did. That was Drake's motive. When you listen to this Kendrick shit, he wasn't focused on making it vibeable. He wasn't trying to put it in the club. He wasn't trying to make it go in your car. He wasn't worried about making it catchy or anything of that nature. What he was worried about doing was really destroying this man. What he was worried about doing, and when I say that, you have to understand that he is like, when you listen to the beat is very unsettling. There is dissonance in the main chord that is played most of the time until it resolves for the next 2 bars. Then it goes back to dissonance. That's what it is. That's what he has going on in either the sample or the composition that's being played. And then what he's doing is he's trying to come off very sincere, talking to multiple family members of Drake's, and it's called Meet the Grams. So what he's trying to do, just to condense it, as far as both of these, Drake is trying to make something that people who want to vibe to music and bounce around and dance, he wants to make something that they could feel. Kendrick doesn't care about any of that. He wants to make something that can be felt on a deeper level. That is the difference. It's the difference between, let me get some super gourmet cheesecake or whatever. That would be Drake. And then as far as Kendrick, it's like, let me give you some of the best vegetables, some of the Amish vegetables, African, whatever it's going to be. And it's going to be like some of the freshest vegetables and fruits you ever tasted. Those are the differences. And don't think too hard about that. Again, it's just a difference between trying to make something on a vibey, let's make them bounce type of level, artistic level. Let's try and make some good art versus let me connect with people deeply and sacrifice, making a jiggy record or whatever. And even if you look at it, he doesn't have a music video to go with it or any flash or anything like that, just the artwork. And the artwork is allegedly a stolen luggage from Dennis Graham. That's the word going around the internet. Stolen luggage. All of that is Dennis Graham's belongings. Drake's dad. So with that being said, that is what we have. Let's get into the bars. So the goal of this diss, and it's a theme throughout the diss. It's a little different than the Drake diss. So it's actually a lot different than the Drake diss. It's character assassination. Like, yeah, Drake had some things in there. One thing I left out as far as the Drake shit, the chain around his neck is supposed to be his wife's engagement ring or something like that. I doubt that it is. People have debunked that. But as far as this is just supposed to be raw character assassination. He mentioned with one of T.I.'s friends who has passed, peed on Drake. And he's talking to Adonis when he says this. And that is like, he says basically, bro, either you die or he dies if he pees on you. That's how you handle that. He then goes on to say, don't code switch. He says, you're a black man, get some discipline, do some push-ups, et cetera, et cetera. He's giving advice to him while slandering Drake at the same time. So as far as what he said in that part, it wasn't that potent, but the thing that was potent was the last few bars where he said, you might not understand this now, but play this when you're 18. It's kind of crazy, and that very well may haunt Adonis and Drake because he may go back and listen to it when he's 18 on the low. Shit, he may go back and listen to it when he's 11. He may go back and he said, let me be your mentor. It's something that Adonis can go and listen to at any point in life a bunch of times. And I'm not going to hold you. Whenever he listens to it, he's going to go past just a verse for him. And it's going to make him look at his dad different if he actually believes some of the stuff said in this diss. And that's the thing about this shit. This beef is extremely personal at this point because they decided to start going at each other's families. It's nasty, but this is how they decided to play. And I would say, honestly, you kind of have to blame Pusha T for this because Drake didn't put money in the streets for Pusha T until Pusha T pretty much came and did the story of Addy Don and exposed so much about Drake, and he felt like that was the way. So that was a precedent that was set for him because Drake has had beef before this and Drake has done disses before this. And he would just hit you with a pump it up line, or he would do the stay scheming type verse or something like that, or he would just hit you with a bunch of subliminal, whatever the case may be. Even with Meek, he didn't go and do any digging for Meek at all. None. But after Pusha T, a precedent was set. So now we are going to have deluxe mud slinging matches. That's what this is. Let's continue with the verse, though. Now, he briefly talks to his mom. He talks to Drake's mom. He really don't say shit to her. When he gets to Dennis, he says that Drake is a master manipulator. And we finally figure out how Drake is a master manipulator. He's been using his dad to prove that he's a nigga. That's what he's been doing. That's what Kendrick says. So he said, keep asking that nigga for money because he's basically pimping out your image, pimping out your likeness and stuff like that. Now, this next part gets very, very tricky. It gets very, very tricky because he then compares Drake to Epstein. He compares Drake to that man, and you begin to wonder why. And a lot of people who don't listen to lyrics, they think that he called Drake a pedo. He did not, because what he said was somebody in OVO is a pedo. Now, after that, I'm pretty sure he called Drake a predator. And what he alleged is that some Epstein type shit where they round up women, put them in these houses against their will is happening. That's what he basically alleged. And he said, listen, keep your LeBron, Steph Curry, all you niggas, keep your family away from this nigga, because what's going to happen is if you get too close to him when shit hits the fan with this predator, you're going to be under investigation as well. Very nasty work. Boy, very nasty work. But boy, oh boy, does it get nastier. Like, it's not even about the cleverness or the metaphors or nothing. And Kendrick is a nigga that could do a quadruple, like an octuple entendre. No. He then talks to his 11-year-old estranged daughter, his mystery 11-year-old daughter. That is an insane reveal. And what did I say about the depth? He talks to her like he really cares about her, bruh. In the verse, he really talks to it like in rap beefs, you typically look for the aggressive bars and the crazy shit, bruh. This nigga is talking very tenderly to Drake's alleged 11-year-old daughter that he doesn't take care of nor acknowledge. Man. He ends it and even changes his voice tone. Like, he's a great rapper, all this stuff. And he's a deadbeat who should never say more life. Oh my goodness, bruh. What the fuck? That is just a fucking bombshell that he is hitting us with as far as this shit, bro. Like this is worth the 17 days niggas had to wait. In the 11 years that I said, that we have been watching these motherfuckers diss each other. Now, when we get to him talking to Aubrey, I have to point out a contradiction that should be obvious to anybody. He says that he doesn't hate him within the first 4 bars. You had a whole fucking soliloquy about what you hate about this nigga. And you said you hate the bitches he fucks. Which is funny because you're calling him a predator as well in this song, and that he hates black women. But anyways, he said that he hated him in the first diss. Now he doesn't hate him. Wow. But when he starts talking to him, he basically says, this was supposed to just be an exhibition on some rap shit, on some lyrical shit. But you had to take it somewhere nasty when you mention my family. So now we got to do this. Now I got to talk to your son. Now I got to talk to your 11-year-old daughter. This is the other contradiction that niggas won't peep. The nigga said, and it's funny because Kendrick tries to take the moral high ground quite often, and you're not going to see many people pick these things out that I'm talking about. So we already touched on him saying he doesn't have a hateful bone in his body, yet in the first diss he said he hates so much about Drake. But then when you look at this, he's exposing so much new information about Drake and OVO and all of this stuff. But in his first diss, he said, what do we look like trying to dig up dirt on Drake? He said, what do I look like trying to do that? I got to raise my son. Well, I guess that wasn't quite what it seems because now you have all this dirt that you were exposing. And basically, in this last verse, he said that Drake is a liar. He's hiding his baby moms. He has a bunch of vices. And in his last bars, he basically says, you know, dog, you got issues you got to deal with yourself. Specifically, he said, this is a lifelong battle you got to deal with yourself. So that's it for the Kendrick diss. Now, as far as my assessment of both of them, I'm going to be honest because people want you to pick, oh man, who won? Who do you think won? And stuff like, oh man, you like, listen, I'm going to tell you why I don't really have a winner quite yet. The reason I don't have a winner is because the beef has now become predicated on allegations instead of bars. It's sad to say, but that's what this has turned into. So when we look at Drake being a predator or even somebody on OVO being a pedo, that is something that needs to be proven to validate the diss. It's just what it is. When we look at Drake having an 11-year-old daughter, that is the biggest bombshell of this diss. That is something that has to be verified for it to be valid. Because imagine if we make it another 11 years, another, which is ironic because they've been beefing for 11 years, and we just never see this daughter. This daughter is just never identified. It makes it seem like, okay, so he was just lying. He was just saying shit, you know. So those two things, you have it. The pedophile, that has to be proven, and we need a confirmation on this 11-year-old daughter. Now, on the flip side, as far as the Drake diss, what has to be there as far as the allegations of Dave Free being the dad of Kendrick's son, a public DNA test, a DNA test being shared with the public, that would shatter everything if it's really Kendrick's son. And the only other allegation is that he beat his wife, and that would have to be something that Drake and them would have to substantiate, you know. So when you look at it, this is what it's become. It's become a mudslinging match and stuff like that, and just a bunch of allegations that could be 100% fake. I've seen rumors of like fake moles, and I don't even want to say rumors, just fucking fan talk. That's all that shit is, man. So with that being said, I'm not that invested as far as this shit. Whatever rolls out, rolls out. But that's what will solidify a winner. Like, you got to be telling the truth. If y'all both are just saying shit to say shit, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. In my opinion, it just doesn't work. So personally, I don't have a clear-cut winner right now. I am actually going to let these marinate some more because they are just, both of them are just so good. I've listened to both of them so many times, and they are just so different. And I'm not gonna lie, I just gotta be honest. I can't even think. I know a lot of music, bro. I can't pinpoint in my mind a diss that is quite like this Kendrick diss. It's an extremely unique angle, and it's not something that is just flat out hostile. He's trying to do the fake therapist shit. So it's it's mad different. So let me know your thoughts. I know this is a long joint, but I'm out. When more shit pops out, let me know who you think won in the comments. And be sure to put a like on the video. I'm out.